Everyone, and welcome. It's Friday again, Amanda. It's
Yes.
February 2nd, and we are just cannot believe it's already February, and this application season is almost over, really. I
It
mean, I'm
is.
sure that a lot of students have gotten acceptances, and
Mhm.
we're going to talk about something today that is important for everyone. And what would that be, Amanda?
Well, as a parent, money, right?
Yeah, exactly,
How to pay
exactly.
for college, reduce that cost, right?
hmm
Yeah.
So we thought a good topic for today would be scholarships because we do get a lot of questions every week on scholarships and how to find them and how to apply for them and what is the process for scholarship searching. So we just wanted to take a few minutes and give you guys an overview of the process and the different types of scholarships that are out there. So we could start with, do you want to start globally or do you want to start
Well,
close
I
to
think
home?
let's kind of talk about the number one way that you're going to get
Okay.
scholarship, right? And that primarily is going to be from the institution,
Mhm.
right? So when you look at sort of, no matter where you're at in the process, if you're a senior and you're starting to get award letters or not, most people aren't getting very much for award letters right now because of the FAFSA and everything that's going on. And unfortunately, the delays of FAFSA for this year. But when you do get that award letter, it breaks it down. How much are you going to earn in merit aid? That's basically based on your academics. It has no bearing on your financial status as a family. And some schools give lots of merit aid.
Mhm.
And then there's some schools that every kid that's being accepted would get merit aid. So they'd only give financial aid, right? They only give awards based on financial need. But primarily, we see institutional money, depending on the school, is really going to be your number one place to be able to move the needle a little bit.
Exactly. And that is a great differentiation between what types of scholarships are out there, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so with the institutions, that's a great question again for juniors to be asking or seniors even at this point to be asking when you're on tours, what type of scholarships does the institution provide to their students and what are the qualifications?
Mhm. And
So
what's that
some,
process,
and
right?
what is
So,
that
because
process?
some are
Mm-hmm.
automatic, and you can say, hey, I have this ACT, SAT score or this GPA. So automatically, I know I'll get $3,000 off or 4,000. And some you have to apply to. It really
Mm-hmm.
depends on the college.
Right. And the scholarship
Mhm.
and who's giving it. And I know a lot of times too in scholarships, just like in admissions, there's deadline dates if you
Yeah.
do have to apply for those scholarships. So you want to be aware well in advance of
Mhm.
the application deadline date. So you're not, again, missing out on opportunities. And I know we talk about that a lot on here, is the more information and knowledge you have, the easier the process is and the less you're going to miss out on opportunities.
Mhm.
And some of those scholarship applications, it could be writing an essay. I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of those. Some could just be filling out a form. Others have an interview process. And
Mhm.
so, again, those communication skills and
Mhm.
practicing for interviews and learning and being comfortable talking about yourself
Mhm.
and what you've accomplished and why you're going for this scholarship. So yes, you are right. There are a lot of different institutional scholarships,
Yeah.
and they all seem to have a different process. So being aware of that is really important.
And that's an easy process. And a lot of times, I would say college discounts are sort of, some colleges kind of automatically give you $20,000 or they discount the price and it's in a form of a scholarship. So those are things that you can find out kind of on average based on your financial status and like what your sort of income is as a household. You can see kind of what you could expect in that net price. So I use College Navigator. It's a free website. It's run by the Department of Education, and so it's always good. And it's not pretty, but it's very functional. But it will tell you like how many percent of students actually get institutional aid. How is that broken up, and then what the average award amount is by income. So I always think that that's a super important thing to know going into any college going process is to kind of know, what would I be paying? Because you're not I think there's a statistic, I think it's only 11% of families, so 89%, that actually don't pay, 11% pay full price. That's it. So 89% of families do not pay like the sticker
Oh,
price,
right. Which
which
is
is shocking.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
And a good, yeah, in a good
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, really good to know. And so another thing too, just being aware, like we were talking about, the different requirements. So understanding what the requirements are for the biggest one I've seen, I don't know about you, but is the state scholarship programs. Those seem to be really popular and pretty attainable from what I've
Yeah.
seen. I mean, at least in the states I've been in. And so understanding what your state offers as far as college scholarships, and again, what those requirements are, so that you can be working on maintaining that GPA or getting that test score, because that's, again, ties back into math and learning. And what we do is, again, putting more emphasis and time and energy and effort maybe into test prep could result in more
Absolutely.
scholarship money.
Yeah.
So you could see more money coming back to you in savings than the cost to do test prep.
Well, and I live in Florida, and so we have the Bright Futures, which is a state scholarship, and you're literally talking, it's full tuition is paid. So times 4 years, it's almost $30,000 to get a certain test score. And again, it could be ACT, it could be SAT, it doesn't really matter. You can super score. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to really work. So to do some test prep, and whether it's the Advantage course or do the online or do one-on-one or all three. With my daughter, I did all three. I did a mix, right? Because I really wanted to hit it all levels. It's a big deal. So those state scholarships, a lot of times counselors talk quite a bit about the state scholarships. Most families are pretty aware, but you want to know, like you said, Jessica, what the eligibility is, but then also, how do I maintain eligibility? A lot of kids lose it. They go up and they go party for the semester, and all of a sudden they lose their Bright Futures. And that was a $30,000 bill that parents weren't planning on paying for.
Exactly, right. So keeping that all in mind and making these decisions, which brings up another point, in-state versus out-of-state tuition and the cost for that, right? I mean, I see a lot of students staying in-state because number one, there's great colleges, and number two, these state scholarships are really making college more affordable for the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're pretty comparable colleges across the board. And when you're a public institution, you just don't have as much flexibility on giving money out to out-of-state students. So you just don't see it as much. So there's a lot of schools like University of Michigan and things like that, where they're like, if you're out of state, we really can't give you much, right? So, you go, going into that is how they are. So you definitely want to ask when you're going through that process. Now, private schools, because they're private, have a little more flexibility, but realize those I get this a lot, like, oh, well, can my Bright Futures, if I want to go to Georgia, does it transfer? No, it doesn't. It's state money. It usually comes from your lottery system. It's from the state directly to the college. So you don't get to use that money elsewhere.
Out of state, exactly, right. And then that brings up another point where private institutions typically, they may be more expensive, again, that figure online or in their brochures. But then once you take a look at their specific scholarships and what you might qualify for, like you said, 89% of families aren't paying that price. So it's coming from scholarships. And so that, again, is something to keep in mind, because I've had some students, oh, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. Well, let's take a look at it. And if they really do have the best program and it's the best fit for you, then let's see what types of scholarships they offer to see if we would be paying that price, or if what percent would you receive through your merit-based scholarship.
And I always say apply and then decide. Like we have a
Mhm.
lot of data points that we look at. We have a lot of information that helps us inform our decisions. But until we get that award letter back and we really know, and that's why I know we both do this and all of our advisors do this, is we make sure that you're not just getting admissions, you're also looking at how do I get those, automatic scholarships. So we're always looking at building in the character and the leadership and those certain
Mhm.
attributes that kind of catch scholarship reviewers' eyes, because we want you to have both. It's not just about getting in, it's also being able to reduce that
Exactly.
cost.
It's
Yeah.
about it's about the fit and
Hmm.
everything else that goes along with it. But I mean, the university that I worked for previously had just that, a leadership scholarship. So you had to show that you were a leader in your community and or school,
Hmm.
and you would get a
Yeah.
scholarship. So they were big on leadership. So
Yeah.
again, these non-academic factors really can and do
Hmm.
play a part in the admission, not only the admissions process clearly, but again, as
Hmm.
far as scholarships go.
Yeah.
So, which reminds me of another way you can get scholarships
So
are
many.
through different organizations, clubs, activities. I know here, like the Rotary Club
Hmm.
gives out different scholarships to the students in Interact.
Right.
And there are a lot of the Silver Pen Writing Scholarship is a big one out there, the different VFWs. So there's a variety of local scholarship
Hmm.
opportunities too. And I always suggest to students, check with your guidance or your
Hmm.
school counseling office and see if they are aware of any, and if so, do they post them on a bulletin board or
Hmm.
an online site somewhere, like on a portal? How would you find out about them? Because
Right.
my time, I don't know about your time, but my time in the high school, I would have so many scholarship opportunities
Right.
come in and I would promote them and nobody would apply for them.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
tough. Yeah, and I mean, and it's they're like maybe because it's smaller amounts, but when you start adding those up, it can be
Hmm.
significant. And those scholarships don't affect what institutionally is being given or what federally is being given. And so that's what we call stackable, right? So if
Hmm.
you're looking at a cost, and if at the end of the day you have extra money coming in, that money comes back to you. And I'm a huge proponent for local scholarships. We have a big foundation here and it has tons of endowments. I think there's over 120 different scholarships and endowments that they have, almost over $1 million. But we only had about 500 students apply last
Oh,
year. And so
wow.
you're talking, you have a 1 in 5 chance, a 20% chance of getting a scholarship, where I think kids focus all their time. And we'll talk about national scholarships. That's the FastWeb and the scholarships.com and the
Hmm.
KPEX.
The big
They,
ones.
they do all that, and it's kind of a black hole. Like there's some good stuff out there, but you're competing against thousands of students, and here you're competing against just a few hundred, right? So you have a
Exactly.
much better chance of getting it and being able to apply that money.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. And a lot of different employers, I know
Mhm.
some of our students, their parents, employers have
Yep.
different scholarship funds where you might want to ask, hey,
Mhm.
does your work have a scholarship fund? And if
Mhm.
so, can I apply? And I know at least the ones that I'm familiar with, they're year after year. So it's
Mhm.
not just a one time, but you can continue as long as, again, you meet those eligibility requirements of the set GPA and credit hours earned, then you can apply year after year for
Mhm.
some of these. So yeah,
Well,
not
I'll tell
just a
you.
one chance thing.
Absolutely. And so there was a student I worked with, this was a few years ago, and they wanted to go to Arizona State University, ASU. Great. It's like the biggest, the largest university in the US. It's big, right?
Yes.
And they were going to, kind of do online. And I said, well, have you ever heard about the Starbucks scholarship, where they have that partnership with, if you work at Starbucks, you
Mm-hmm.
can go to ASU and they basically pay tuition. And they're like, no. So you know what they did? They got a job at Starbucks.
Right.
And they're like, that was their dream school. That's where they wanted to go. And I'm like, you can basically go for free. And that's exactly what they did. And they loved it. They had a great job. They were a little barista. And so there are a lot of, Disney does stuff with like
Mm-hmm.
Disney and
Chick-fil-A
UCF,
has one. I
Chick-fil-A.
know. Yes,
So
they
there's a lot of I'm sure, when they're working with kids and they want to promote, build their employee base. So even as a student, you might have your place might have a specific scholarship to look into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this whole conversation reminds me that we have brought on board
Mm.
a staff member who specializes in financial aid and scholarships. And our families have been meeting with
Oh my
her
gosh.
for
So
one-on-one
informative.
strategy
Mm-hmm.
sessions to talk about exactly this, but
Yeah.
on a much more personal,
Mm-hmm.
individualized level,
Yeah.
and really doing a deep dive into what should I be doing if I want to earn
Mm-hmm.
some scholarship money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I even have a few families right now that they know they're going to have to appeal their financial aid.
Mhm,
That, they did
mhm.
get a good package, but maybe something's changed in their life or something else is sort of has moved around. It could be marriage, divorce, there's lots of different things. And so they've really been working with her to actually craft that appeal and what does that look like. And that's her specialty. That's where
Mhm.
she was on that side of the house looking at thousands of financial aid
Yes.
applications and appeals and everything else, and so just such a wealth of information. And I know
Mhm,
our families are just like, and that's why again we believe that's the whole picture of method. You
mhm.
got the test prep for admissions, you got the application help, the financial scholarship help. Like it's just such a continuum.
The
Everything is just,
essays, the picking your
yeah,
majors, I
so
mean,
much.
really, it's
Yeah.
everything. And that's why we're so passionate about what we do,
Mm-hmm.
because we are really just trying to fill all those gaps
Yeah.
and, tie all this together, to make one really smooth transition for these students and families,
Mm-hmm.
through the process and then even into college, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Making sure that everything is taken care of
Mm-hmm.
as far as, once you get accepted,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now what do I do? Do I have to put my deposit down before? Like,
Mm-hmm.
these are all questions
Right.
that will
Holy cow.
eventually come
Mm-hmm.
up. So it's been nice, I think, for all the families that I've talked to have
Mm-hmm.
somebody to help them answer these questions
And at the right
firsthand.
time. Yeah, and at the
Mhm.
right time, right?
And at the
Like
right time, exactly. Because if you
I
tell me something that's going to happen to me, even in August from now or, September, I might forget. So
yeah, absolutely.
timely communication
Mhm.
is really, I think, helpful for them.
So, a lot of scholarships, even if you're a senior, are still out there. There are still opportunities to check in with your college. And, if you're starting to get letters back, check out their financial aid scholarship websites, see if there's anything else that you could potentially apply to. If you're in younger grades, we suggest, websites like raise.me is a really
Mhm.
great site to see, like, am I on track for scholarships and what might I be earning? So really kind of looking at some opportunities. I just don't want families to forego college admissions for scholarships. A lot of times, like, oh, I got to get money, which is absolutely true. But I see them putting away, not focusing on their applications, where you got to get to go somewhere first. So,
Exactly.
again,
It,
when do you
it all
use
goes
it?
hand in hand,
It does.
right?
It does.
And that's why, again, we're such big proponents of starting early.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding what the state requirements are for those state scholarships
Mm-hmm.
so that that is a goal and it's an
Yeah.
achievable goal and have that as a goal, starting, sophomore and freshman year, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
where I'm headed. And you'll get there so much easier if you know where you need to go.
Well,
So
and then, the sooner you can do it. Like I know we just started our Advantage class for our SAT and ACT prep. And the thing is like I have some families like, oh, well, maybe I'll start looking at it in the summer and fall. I'm like, oh no, because you want to, if you are going for that scholarship or you're, going for the admissions,
mhm,
locking these in, it just makes it so much easier and less
so much
stressful.
easier.
Hmm.
You're not going to be time crunched. You're not going to be
Yeah.
stressed.
Yeah.
And that pretty much brings us to the other exciting news that we have going on in
Oh,
February. We have two really exciting things.
yeah.
Of course, our test prep classes are starting. So if you still want to hop into one, you definitely can do that. Just reach out to
Mhm.
us. And then we are starting our 6-week long College Connect series where
Yes.
we are going to dive into 6 different topics,
Mhm.
all critical to the application admissions. And we have one on financial aid and scholarships.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if that's something that you're interested in, we will post the link below for you guys to get registered for these
Mhm.
webinars. But they're starting Tuesday on February 6th. So
Mhm.
that will be, we're excited about them. And then we also have a resume writing workshop coming
Great.
up on the
Great.
21st. And
Mhm.
so that's going to be a live workshop with us where we are going to really just walk you through the template that we use, provide to you, and how to put things down on paper and in the most significant way, so your application really shines through to that admissions committee.
And that resume can be used for multiple things like scholarships and your, the base of your application. So definitely will be a really great class to get involved in. So yeah, lots of great stuff going on. We're always both excited to talk to any family that has just questions and what the best plan for them is. So no, let's get some money. Let's start writing some scholarships, right? And
exactly.
it's exciting.
Yeah. All right, so you guys will leave you with that today, and we will see you next Friday.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you, everybody.